Khuddaka Nikaya, the Minor Discourses, the Theragāthā, verses of the Arahant Bhikkhus. Chakkanipāta, book of 6 verses. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Theragāthā 6.1 Uruveḷakassapa Thera. Even though I kept witnessing firsthand the miraculous feats of the mighty Gautama, but that was somehow still not enough for me to fall onto my knees, to bow down to the one who had come all this way for me. This because I was simply blind, refusing to see beyond my jealousy and conceit. But despite all that, the teacher, knowing my thoughts clearly, as well as my intent, the trainer of beings spurred me on by chastising me with his words, and right then and there, urgency arose in my heart, as the hairs on my body stood on end in frightful astonishment, finally realizing how there was no more time for me to waste. Turning my back on whatever special abilities or powers I thought I possessed as a renowned matted-hair Jatila ascetic, seeing their futility, by dropping everything I held dear up until that moment, I immediately went forth in the dispensation of the Conqueror. For decades, being satisfied with the execution of sacrifices, seeking to gain rebirth into the sensuous realms of the divine, had always been my priority. But now, all that foolishness is gone, as I quickly aligned myself with the task of removing the very roots of passion, as well as hatred and delusion from my heart. Now I know and remember quite clearly my previous existences, for the divine eye is utterly purified and able to see. I possess psychic abilities and the power to read the hearts and minds of others, seeing that I have also attained to the divine ear as well. But even better, the great quest for which purpose I left and gave up the household life and gone into homelessness in order to seek is now complete, because now I have finally arrived, having ended and eliminated the fetters entirely. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Uruveḷakassapa. Theragāthā 6.2 Tekicchakāri Thera. With the harvest already completed, and the rice collected and headed to be threshed about and released from its husks, now, how in the world are you going to get your alms? From where shall you obtain the food you need to survive? With my heart brimming with trust, and bringing to mind the immeasurable qualities of the Lord Buddha, as I continuously suffuse the body with the spiritual joy, I will always be satiated and hungry for nothing else. With my heart brimming with trust, and bringing to mind the immeasurable qualities of the Dhamma, as I continuously suffuse the body with the spiritual joy, I will always be satiated and hungry for nothing else. With my heart brimming with trust, and bringing to mind the immeasurable qualities of the Sangha, as I continuously suffuse the body with the spiritual joy, I will always be satiated and hungry for nothing else. But you're all out here, all alone, living and dwelling in the open and with no shelter to protect you, where the winter nights are frigid and cold. I'm worried lest you perish, fallen victim to the freezing temperatures. So please, rush back into the comfort of your hut and keep its door securely shut. What I will securely keep shut are the four immeasurables, in which I will safely and happily continue meditating. Hence, here in the frigid cold, there's no cause for any worries, or in falling victim to the freezing temperatures, for I'll just keep dwelling untouched, safe and secure in the state of imperturbability. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Tekicchakāri. Theragāthā 6.3 Mahānāga Thera. He in whose heart no reverence or respect is to be found towards his companions who are truly living the holy life, is the one who wilts and falls away from the true Dhamma, just like a fish caught on dry land, or stuck in quickly receding shallow puddles of water. He in whose heart no reverence or respect is to be found towards his companions who are truly living the holy life, neither develops nor grows in the true Dhamma, just like a rotten seed that's cast into a field. He in whose heart no reverence or respect is to be found towards his companions who are truly living the holy life, remains quite far from ever tasting the freedom of Nibbana, unable to taste the highest fruits taught by the King of the Dhamma. But he whose heart beats with reverence and respect towards his companions who are truly living the holy life is the one who certainly does not wilt nor fall away from the true Dhamma, just like a fish that swims freely in abundance of water. Similarly, he whose heart beats with reverence and respect towards his companions who are truly living the holy life, without a doubt continues to develop and grow in the true Dhamma, just like a healthy seed that lands into a freshly cultivated, fertile soil, because he whose heart beats with reverence and respect towards his companions who are truly living the holy life will certainly come to personally taste the freedom of Nibbana, for he's ever so close to taste the highest fruits taught by the King of the Dhamma. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Mahānāga. Theragāthā 6.4 Kulla Thera. Kulla had gone to where the bones come to rest, the charnel grounds, where I saw a woman's body cast aside, festering with maggots that were busily devouring her rotten corpse. Check out that body, O Kulla! Look at it carefully and see it for what it is. That diseased and putrid, horrid body of what used to be a woman, oozing with filth, a genuine delight for the fool. using the Dhamma as a reflecting mirror, revealing the entire world. With both understanding and vision gained, I closely examined this very body and saw it absolutely without a substance, utterly hollow, whether I looked at it from the inside or outside. Just like that one over there is this one over here, with no difference really. As that one over there is, so is this one over here, which still stands upright, staring at that one over there, that lies face down on the ground. Be it daytime or nighttime, it's all the same. Whether by night or by day, they're no different. For as they were in the past, so are they now, much later. And as they are now, so were they in times bygone, with no difference whatsoever. No musical charm or delight played even by a 5-piece orchestra could ever come close to being as lovely or delicious as is penetratingly seeing all of this by the one with the unified vision, looking at all phenomena through the eyes of the Dhamma. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Kulla. Theragāthā 6.5 Māluṅkyaputta Thera. When a man lives his life with negligence, lacking initiative, then what truly continues growing in him will be his craving, that soon takes over and spreads just like the invasive Maluva creeper, uncontrollably spreading and sending out its shoots from this life to the next, just as a restless monkey jumps from tree to tree in the jungle, rushing out and seeking after its next juicy fruit. All those who get fooled and taken down by this vile and terrible thing called craving, that always looks for manifesting into some form of existence, their grief and sorrow will simply continue to grow, just like the birana weed that keeps multiplying as it proliferates under the constant shower of rain. But when one conquers this vile and terrible thing called craving, that's so very difficult to escape in this world, let alone to beat down and subdue, then, for such a person, sorrow and grief caused by craving will come to cease and fully disappear, just like the drops of dew slide off from the petals of a lotus. I announce to you, O good people who are all gathered here, dig deep as you go after the source, craving, and once you do find it, pull it out from its very roots and tear it out. Just like while looking for the valued usira roots, you come across the invasive birana weed, which you then don't hesitate for a second to pull out and remove. In the same way, do not let Mara pull you down and tear you up again and again, like the rushing stream does to the reeds it catches, snapping them one by one. So, do what the Buddha taught you. Heed the teacher's words, and don't let this moment slip by you, because that moment could make all the difference in the world for you. Otherwise, you'll just end up being one of the majority who keep missing such moments and thus find themselves in hellish agony. Negligence or heedlessness they always leave behind them, dirt and grime. Filth always will trail behind you when you've let go of diligence, which is why you must stay present with thorough understanding and persistent vigilance, plucking out the poison arrow of craving the moment you spot it, and rid yourself completely from it. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Māluṅkyaputta. Theragāthā 6.6 Sappadāsa Thera. For the entire 25 years since I left the household life and went forth, not a single moment of peace did I achieve. Not even for the duration of a finger snap do I recall ever gaining a moment's contentment within the heart. So, in realizing the hopelessness of my predicament, seeing that I could not attain that tranquility experienced from unifying the heart, given my ongoing fervent attachment to tasting the pleasures of the senses, I rushed out of my hut, sobbing my eyes out, flailing my arms in desperation. Thinking whether to take my own life or not, I began wondering whether this life was worth living any more. For how, indeed, could someone like me, who obviously refuses to engage in the training, go on living a life of pretending? Thus, I reached for the razor, and by sitting down on my small bed, with razor in hand, I decided to go for it, ready to cut open my arteries. But right at that moment, my firm attention fell properly at the root, and suddenly it all became clear. The very danger in what I was witnessing, as disgust arose in me towards the entire world, and disenchantment spread throughout. It was then that the heart was finally released. The excellent Dhamma was directly seen, and the three knowledges I did attain, and thus completed is my training in the Buddha's dispensation. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Sappadāsa. Theragāthā 6.7 Kātiyāna Thera. Up on your feet, Kātiyāna. Stay watchful and fight the urge to fall asleep. Don't be like the rest of this negligent population, this race of Mara. Otherwise, you too will fall into the trap laid out for you by the King of Death. Just like the giant, bulging waves of the mighty ocean, so too the giant wave called rebirth is coming at you, followed closely behind by aging and getting old. Therefore, you must quickly act and make an island of safety for yourself, for there is no other refuge left for you where you currently are. This, your teacher, has already won by walking and mastering this path that breaks right through and transcends all types of bonds, shedding with it the fear of rebirth, together with that of getting old. So, stay alert and fight the urge to sleep during the first and third watches of the night, and fully immerse yourself in the steady practice that will surely set you free. Releasing yourself from your past inclinations and their fetters that bind, donning your patched robe with your shaven head, supported by the alms food you receive. Be steadfast in your efforts, without seeking after amusement or fun, be it in sleep or seeking comfort, and fully engage by dedicating yourself to meditation, O Kātiyāna. Meditate and overcome these hurdles, O Kātiyāna. You are, after all, already skilled at finding your way out to safety from the fetters. And once you attain to that level of unsurpassed purity, you'll be fully quenched, just like fire is cast into the water. A weak flame that's barely left withstanding the wind, flickering as it does, hanging on to its wick, still unwilling to let go. That's how you are now, O kinsman of Indra. So tear off that little bit that's still clinging to what's under Mara's control. And by freeing yourself from the passions for feelings, live out the rest of what's left of your days here, fully quenched and cooled. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Kātiyāna. Theragāthā 6.8 Migajāla Thera. The Noble Eightfold Path that's been well taught by the All-Seeing One, the fully awakened Buddha himself, who through his full understanding and transcending of all fetters that bind, destroyed the very mechanism of the wheel of perpetual rebirths. For these noble eight unmistakably do take you pass across and all the way to freedom, by killing off the very root of craving itself that's underneath it all, while leaving its poisonous root completely destroyed. Together, they help us to finally cut off the way to the slaughterhouse, by decapitating all evil from the heart, as they take us straight to Nibbana. By bringing to a full stop that careless ignoring perpetually goes out searching for the other, the Noble Eightfold Path smashes it into bits, that drive which keeps you compulsively engaged in action, by zapping the lightning of understanding as it blows out into smithereens the very consciousness that eagerly waits to take you into the vast ocean of rebirths yet again. Thus, by revealing to us the truth about feelings, setting the heart free from running after or grasping onto them, and through understanding with careful scrutiny provided by these noble eight, re-becoming is seen for what it truly is, an unsatiable pit of burning charcoals, awaiting evermore for our arrival. Oh, how deliciously sweet it is, how deeply flavorful, to finally bring to a stop birth and death altogether. Such truly is the capability of the nobility called the path that is eightfold, which bring to an end all manner of suffering, providing us with bliss unparalleled, never before known. By truly understanding and seeing the nature of action as pure action and nothing more, and looking upon the consequences it causes as consequence plain and simple, one then directly sees how all things dependently arise. Thus, he comes to understand by witnessing candidly how things keep unraveling in the world, and all this leads to the great refuge of peace and tranquility that is excellently superb from end to end. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Migajāla. Theragāthā 6.9 Jenta Purohitaputta Thera. Intoxicated with the pride of my birth, social status, and heredity, along with my wealth, influence, reputation, and of course, the handsome figure I thought I possessed, which I would proudly display as I went here and there, peacocking around, fully infatuated by all those things I thought set me above all the rest. So I kept thinking that there was none equal, let alone better than me. What a stubborn fool indeed I had been to think so highly of myself. What an imbecile to place myself above all the rest, full of undeserved faith and confidence in myself. So it was no wonder that I recognized no one deserving of my genuine respect. Not even my own mother and father were good enough, nor other highly respected individual whom I would view as revered, really. That's how despicable I was in my arrogance, terribly conceited towards all others. It was then, when just in time I did see the teacher himself, the chief and leader of the very best of men, the best and most excellent of charioteers, shining as bright as the blazing sun, sitting there at the helm of the Sangha. There was where I said goodbye to all conceit and intoxicated pride, along with the vanity I held within, that had been suffocating me for such a long time. And by lowering my head down, I paid my heartfelt homage to the very supreme among all beings. The conceit that sees itself higher than others, and the one that sees everyone else lower than oneself, are now gone and eradicated, with the I am conceit now being fully torn asunder, and along with it any kind of ego or the desire to see myself different from others is now obliterated and destroyed. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Jenta Purohitaputta. Theragāthā 6.10 Sumana Thera. Barely gone forth at the age of 7, when with psychic powers I did overcome the king of mighty snakes. This happened as I had gone to fetch a bowl of water for my teacher from the river Untitled. Then, on this occasion, the great teacher declared, by calling over the general of the Dhamma, and said, Sariputta, look at this little boy approaching, carrying that water bucket for his teacher, all calm and tranquil, thoroughly composed within as he moves, inspiring confidence even in his behavior. Behold, how lovely is his attitude, even in his quiet demeanor. This delightful young novice disciple of Anuruddha's is already a master of psychic powers. This is the case when a thoroughbred is himself trained by a master thoroughbred, perfected and sharpened by one who is himself perfected and sharp. and thus comes to gain superb competence due to his teacher Anuruddha, who is himself superbly competent, having already fulfilled his task. And now, this little one, Sumana, who's already attained to the ultimate peace, having personally realized the unshakable, secretly wishes to himself, "Ah, may I be hidden from the eyes of people, where no one finds out about me, nor learn anything about these abilities I possess." These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Sumana. Theragāthā 6.11 Nhātakamuni Thera. Having to deal with digestion and incessant gut problems due to the food you eat, while in the forest wilderness, surrounded by these harsh living conditions, forcing all these unnecessary difficulties upon yourself, how in the world will you continue and attain the results you desire, O Bhikkhu? By suffusing this pile of bones with the happiness and spiritual joy, letting it radiate throughout this body, I will continue bearing up with all these harsh difficulties while living in the wilderness of the forest. It is by cultivation and constant working with the 7 factors of awakening, the 5 spiritual faculties and their powers, while sitting on the comforting rest stations of the jhanas, I will dwell with a heart that's freed from the contaminants. Liberated from the defilements thus, the purity of the heart now shines through, and by reviewing constantly the mind that's finally unclouded and unstained, I shall continue dwelling with a heart freed from the contaminants. The contaminants of the heart, the asavas that lurked within me, whether secretly hidden or those showing up externally from time to time, they are all now gone, with none remaining or left behind, nor will they arise ever again. And with the 5 aggregates fully understood for what they are, now they merely exist to sustain this form, but with their roots completely cut off. Thus, the destruction of suffering is now achieved, with no more lives waiting for me to be reborn into, nor any more tasks left for me to do. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Nhātakamuni. Theraga 6.12 Brahmadatta Thera. Where would anger spring from when one is already living a balanced life? When there are no more springs left for rage or anger to jut out? When, through perfect understanding, one is already tamed and fully released from everything, living thus cooled and in suchness complete? It is always a losing battle when one, although knowing the bigger picture, nevertheless goes ahead and repays an angry and evil person in kind, reacting with rage and evil to the one who is enraged, to try and settle the score, and as a result makes things worse for oneself. For it is truly the one who, when reviled, reciprocates instead with what is unexpected, that is, the opposite of rage, and thus wins a 2-fold victory that is so hard to win. After all, when on witnessing the rage in another's behavior towards yourself, to go ahead and choose a response that is directly different than his, means you're already acting for the good of both, by protecting both yourself and another, as you anchor yourself in a state of mindful clarity and peace. But even though you chose to walk the path that's very difficult for most to tread, often those who have no idea about the Dhamma may reckon you to be a fool or weak, at least, in your desire to want to heal the burn and protect you both. Nevertheless, when anger creeps up on you, quickly bring to mind the simile of the saw, and if craving or ravenous thirst comes up in you, then quickly remember the simile of eating your own son's flesh. And if you catch your heart running after this or that sense pleasure, or longing for some delightful states or future lives, then immediately and without thinking twice, pull the reins on them by restraining all those mental states with the power of your mindfulness, just like the farmer does with the ravenous young trespassing cow that invades his cornfield, wanting to devour his valued crops. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Brahmadatta. Theragāthā 6.13 Sirimaṇḍa Thera. If you have nothing for you to hide, then you won't have the need to keep it a secret, nor worry ceaselessly about hiding it from the damage caused by the pouring rain. But if you have everything in the open, then you'll have nothing at all for you to hide, for no rain will ever be able to threaten it, let alone reach or even touch it. Everywhere you look, existence is being smashed under the heavy weight of the impending and inescapable presence of death, as well as the inevitability of getting old, if one is not yet dead and still living. And throughout, you see the poisonous arrow of craving stuck in people's hearts, which keeps smoking and fuming away always, whether it is day or night. Everywhere you look, the world is being smashed under the heavy weight of the impending and inescapable presence of death. And if one is still living and not yet dead, then he's a slave in the bondage of getting old, without any mercy or refuge, constantly is tortured and forever experiencing the trauma of more abuse, just like a thief who's caught red-handed, and now keeps repeatedly getting punished and flogged non-stop. The realities and fear of death, sickness, and that of old age, these three are always drawing near, just like a ravenously merciless forest fire getting closer and closer, with nothing being able to halt their advance. Lacking the strength to fight them off, helplessly one stands and stares powerlessly at them, waiting for them to arrive. For what's the point in running away, as no one is fast enough to escape or outrun them three? Don't let your day be spent in vain, or go past you unproductively. Stay proactive with purpose, doing what must be done, whether the thing you are doing is small or large in its magnitude. Because once the sun has set on your day, then that's it. For now, you can be most certain of the fact that your life is shorter by yet another day. Whether walking, standing, sitting, or even lying down, always be ready to make sure you're totally committed to being present in each. As with each night that passes, your end is always getting closer and drawing near. Therefore, you neither have the time to waste nor to carelessly watch another day go by in vain. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable Sirimaṇḍa. Theragāthā 6.14 Sabbakāmi Thera. This filth-ridden and putrid-smelling, two-legged body you bring here is quite disgusting, seeing that it is a walking cemetery to the countless dead carcasses it keeps carrying around, spewing its filth non-stop wherever it goes. Yet, somehow, people still keep delighting in it. Much like sneakily luring in a deer into a trap, or waiting to catch a fish with a bait, hanging from the end of a crooked hook, or snaring a wild monkey by spreading out sticky tar, while placing in the center of it a juicy fruit which it craves. All these tricks, along with many more sinister ones, are used to trap an ordinary, unlearned person too. These can come in various ways: in the lust-inducing visuals and sights, the seductive sounds, provocative smells, as well as delicious flavors, not to mention the stimulating touches they throw at you. All these 5 enticing sources of arousal a woman brings to you with her body every time she displays herself. No wonder, therefore, how the majority of people, all ordinary, common, and unlearned, lacking substance, with their lustful hearts overflowing with passions, fall for and keep pursuing these women to their own detriment, all the way to the cold, charnel, and horrific ground, where the only thing that will be burning will be their own dead body, now ravaged by the flames of the funeral pyre. And there goes yet another life, utterly wasted, while the doors to more future rebecomings are kept wide open. However, those wise ones who, holding steadfast and mindful, avoid them altogether, just as one completely sidesteps the head of a poisonous snake by jumping over this world and its attachments, by crossing over it entirely, and with full awareness and responsibility utterly breaks free. Thus, by seeing and recognizing the terrible danger already programmed within each and every sense pleasure, and understanding the validity of how renunciation is truly one's true sanctuary, I am now beyond the reach of all sensual desires, having escaped them all. For I achieved the complete termination and destruction of the asavas, and live the rest of my days being fully liberated from the contaminants of the heart. These were the verses spoken by the Venerable